Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for Twisted Dice, coming at you with some kind of reactionary video. This is kind of hot off the press. Yesterday, as you're watching this, Games Workshop released their big FAQ, which contained some points changes, well, quite a few points changes, some core rule changes as well. So I thought I would talk about kind of my first impressions of that. We'll talk very, very generally. The main idea of this video is to think about it from a Tyranids perspective. Obviously, that's kind of what generally my focus is at the moment. And there are some cool stuff in there that are definitely worth talking about. But before we get stuck into that, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We are so fast approaching that 10,000 subscribers. And as somebody mentioned in the last video, rightly so, you're fed up of me saying that. So just hit that subscribe button. Let's get us to 10,000 subscribers. Let's give away a absolute shed load of goodies to you guys. And let's just move on to bigger and better things. But thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully you enjoy the video. So as I said, the new FAQ has dropped, and overall pretty pleased. They have tweaked some of the high performing units, so some of the Space Marine heavy hitters that we're seeing a lot of in the meta have gone up in points, which is good. And there's been a few other little tweaks where there are some poorer performing units out there in the meta that have gone down in points. In other factions, Dark Eldar have seen points reductions quite across the board on some of their key units. With teamed with their codex that's coming really soon, these guys might see a rise in power, which I think is kind of good. I don't want them too strong. I don't like the elf boys, as most people know, but let's make them a bit stronger. Let's bring them in balance. Make sure that everything isn't just Space Marines, Space Marines, Space Marines. So there's been some tweaks across the board. Moving on to the missions, and kind of the core mechanics of the game, really important changes. So now the roll-off is just, if you win the roll-off, you go first. There's no choosing. It's a very small change, and most people will think, oh, well, it's making a difference. That subtlety can make a bit of a difference, and it just takes that power a little bit away. So, you know, it makes it a lot more random, and takes it away from being one kind of dice roll with someone having ultimate power to choose. So I think that's not a bad thing. I quite like that. I think that's an improvement, so that's good. Then what they've also done is they've tweaked the primary points and secondary points. The secondary ones are the ones I really want to talk about because they may massively impact our faction. So the big secondaries that they've tweaked is they've taken the Bring It Down and the Arbor the Witch down in points to get, so you can't get as many points from. Well, that's huge, particularly for me who loves taking monsters, and quite often those monsters are psychers, and I've got a lot of psychers in my army. Both those things are just incredible, so that means my opponent has a lot less points on the table to get against me if they're going to choose those secondaries, and they're the secondaries that always jump off the page when you're going against me on the whole, because I love taking big monsters. So I think that's really strong for Tyranids, and particularly as now our monsters are coming back into the frame. We're seeing the Dimmacaron, the Barbed Huragil, the Swarm Lord, and some other things that we'll talk about, Exocrine. We've got other monsters that are coming into the fold, so this is really important and really great for us, and along with that psychic reduction as well in one, so our Hive Tyrants become more viable. Again, we'll talk more about them in a second, but that can only be good for the Tyranids Codex and for the Tyranid army, so I think that's great news for us guys, really good news, something to celebrate and be happy about. Secondaries are harder to get against Tyranids. And then on to the points. So not a huge amount of points changes. And I may have missed some. And if I've missed some, I would love to hear your comments down below. Let me know what I've missed, what I'm kind of overlooking. Because I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. But when I've kind of looked through them, and the only changes that really I can see is, so from a points increase, the main increase that we've seen is on Zoanthropes. Now, I think that's fair. Zoanthropes are a very strong unit for us in 9th edition. They play the control role probably better than anything else we have, and with a inbuilt 3+ invulnerable save that Games Workshop seems to be going away from, their points probably are now a fairer points. And actually, I would argue that that's not a huge increase enough to worry us too much, with other decreases across in other areas. And actually, if you were taking too many zoanthropes, you were probably playing it wrong anyway. In my opinion, you probably only wanted one kind of big unit of zoanthropes, or or very small units. You don't want to take too many zoanthropes, otherwise it gives away your game plan too much. They don't have enough damage output, and they're not really doing their job. You want a kind of a little bubble that does that role really well, and then you've got lots of other units doing other things to make your opponent have tough decisions to make. If you just got mass zoanthropes on the board, makes it very easy. Ultimately, they're only T4. It's a 3+ save. You'll get through it. You want your opponent to have trouble making those decisions. So if you're taking too many zoanthropes, you're probably doing it wrong. And you watch my cap videos, and that'll give you a bit of a better guide on probably your better builds. It can work, and against somebody that's maybe not up to speed, those zoanthropes will really control that primary, do a great job. The psychic ability is okay. But I think you'll get caught out against good players, and those zoanthropes, you start failing 3+ saves, and your army just completely falls apart. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think, yes, it hurts a little bit, because the zoanthrope is an incredible unit, one of our best, but I think we can get over that. So that's the main increase. As far as decreases, we've got a few really cool ones. So first of all, they decreased the points of Hive Guard. Not really too sure why they did that. Probably our best unit, and now they're even cheaper, which is amazing, to the extent that it might be worth considering a second small unit, just for some extra bang. I still think probably one unit's the way to go, and put your points somewhere else, but that decrease in points is great. I thought they were very expensive when when the new points came out, but after using them extensively, that point is actually cheap for the damage and the output that they have on the table. So the points decrease is just epic. So really good. They're a really great unit for us, and they've just got even better. So that's great. Big decrease for the acid spraying Tyranids. I quite like this guy in 9th edition. I think he's quite good because he can get to the middle of the board a lot quicker than he used to. He can put out quite a lot of damage, and he becomes a unit you have to deal with. So I really quite like him. So a points reduction in him is really useful, and something definitely to be pleased about. Our Hive Tyrants have now gone down in points. The Winged Hive Tyrants, I think it's the Hive Tyrants in total. Can't remember now. I haven't got it off the top of my head, but Hive Tyrants have gone down, which is great. A fairly good decrease there, makes those more playable. I think Hive Tyrants have always been good. They've never really kind of gone anywhere. It just depends on your build. They're a bit of a army Swiss knife, so they can fit in a lot of different gaps and do a viable job. I think we've got other selections now outside of the Hive Tyrants, so they become less of an auto included than maybe were in past editions or in past builds. I think we've got options where we don't need to bring them, but they're still really cool unit and can provide quite a lot of extra support, either psychic support, a little bit of combat support, and just a general irritation with their speed, survivability. So to have a reductions in points there, I think that's a great thing as well. So that's really cool. What they've also seen is a slight decrease in points on warriors. It's really good. It's getting better to where it's close to where they need to be. Ultimately, I would just love to see a 3+ save on a warrior. That's kind of where I want to see. I think the 4+ is just too much stuff that does multiple damage with good AP. It does hurt them even with their buffs through abilities and reductions in damage and stuff like that. That 4+ save always hurts them a little bit, but that reduction in points makes them much more playable. I'll definitely look forward to fielding them more. They are one of the coolest units we have, so what a great way of encouraging us to use more warriors. So that's super cool. And probably I saved the best till last, and I probably will do a whole video on these guys. They're a unit that I have been so heavily critical of for so long. I've never really rated these, and a lot of people have always loved them, and this is the classic Devil Gaunt. So this is a Termagaunt, but armed with a Devourer rather than a Flesh Borer. So that Devourer is going to give them a longer range. It's going to give them more shots. And now those Devourers are quite a lot cheaper. I think they've gone down half in price. They're only like a couple of points a Devourer, which is incredible. So you can get a big unit of Gaunts with Devourers, so Devil Gaunts, for super cheap, and they are putting out bag loads and bag loads of shots. You can pair this with some cool abilities to sort of shoot twice. You can take them in Jormungandr and have them outflank and have them reroll all their hits, which I think is probably the secret sauce. I haven't done the math. Or you can go down the Kronos route and obviously use a psychic power to have them exploding sixes, which is the more obvious one. But yeah, there's quite a lot you can do with these guys. They're relatively cheap. They can put out a lot of shots. I always struggle with them because they even though you can have them re-rolling ones to wound, unless you have some way to manipulate the hits, they still hit on 4s. So even with a lot of shots, only half of them hit. They're only strength 4, so again a lot of them don't wound, and then they're AP dash, so a lot of them get saved, and then things have got more wounds than ever, they're tougher than ever, they have better saves than ever. So sometimes that huge amount of volume of dice slowly but surely just dissipate into nothing, and that's I've always found with them, is just the volume of shots is just, it just doesn't do anything. But I will test them again now because that points makes them very attractive, and I think we could have quite a lot of fun with them. So let me know what you think about the Devil Gaunts. I'm split at the moment. I think they could be good, but I'm not 100% sure in the current meta with things as tough as they are, whether they have the same problem as the Vulture for Imperial Guard, where we've got tons of attacks from that flyer, but hardly any of them hit, hardly even wound, and then they all get saved. And it feels a little bit like that with Devil Gaunts, but with maybe the buffs and the abilities we have to kind of do re-rolls and extra shots and second volleys and stuff like that, maybe it's enough to make these guys viables. But let me know in the comments below. And that's pretty much it. There was a change to Spore Mines, but that's obvious. Spore Mines couldn't do actions. If you're using from that, then you naughty people, because it was pretty obvious you can do that. But anyway, that got kind of cleared out. But other than that, it's more or less the same. I don't think I've missed anything else. But yeah, so Tyranids, all in all, really good another buff. So it's been all good news recently. So Forge World update was amazing for us. This has been really quite good for us. So now all we need is a really good codex and we're laughing. So we're up and up, guys. Tyranids' future is looking pretty bright. I think the army's in a good place as it is. It's not bad. It's much better than some people say. And we have lots of options. There's lots of different builds. And quite a few of them are okay. So yeah, I think it's a good time to be a Tyranid player. I'll have another review of the next part of the old codex coming up next week, so something for you to look forward to there. Thank you for all the comments on the first video. I will put a link down in the description for that, and if you haven't already, make sure you do jump over and enter our 10,000 subscriber competition. It's not a competition, it's a giveaway, which that will click into action as soon as we hit that magical 10,000 subscribers. But until the next video, hopefully this has been fun for you. I'm Aceface, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.